video, I'm going to take you behind the scenes and show you my full keyboard setup and my full night's process for larger stage shows that I would use in my cover band, Boogie and the Yoyoz. Every Halloween weekend, Boogie plays a costume party show at the legendary Surf Ballroom in Clear Lake, Iowa. The Surf is about a 5-hour drive from where our bus is parked in Appleton, Wisconsin, so it definitely makes for a full day. Now, I live in central Wisconsin, so that day I met the bus in a little town called Wild Rose.
Hi, Mike!
So several hours later, we arrived at the Surf, and when we arrived, we started loading in right away. Now in the trailer, we have 3 rollable boxes that store many of our instruments. And then once those boxes are emptied out, the boxes double as stage risers across the back of the stage. The center riser is for the drums, and then the other 2 are on either side of the drums, and then my keyboard riser would be on stage left. Now my keyboard case is actually too large and too heavy to fit inside of these riser boxes, so it has to be carried separately. I could use a smaller keyboard, and I have, but I have found that I really much prefer playing the full keyboard with 88 weighted keys and the full library of sounds that come with the original Fantom G8, so I can play all the songs on one keyboard and then have the keyboard touch and action that I prefer. So yes, this is pretty obnoxious to move around, but that's a trade-off that works for me. The riser that I set up on is actually not that big, so I have to be pretty strategic in how I use the space in a way that it is physically stable, but that also allows me to access all the musical sounds that I need for the show. And that includes an electric guitar, which I do play a little bit. So here's how my setup goes. My keyboard stand is the K&M 18810, and I love how stable it is while being tall enough for me to stand up and play. Then I have just a very simple, small guitar stand to the side so I can easily reach it when I need to. I have 2 attachments to my keyboard stand that I put on before I set the keyboard on top. One is to hold my tablet, and the other is to hold my vocal mic. Again, this is a good way for me to do this because I don't really have enough floor space to set up another stand on the platform. Once those attachments are on, then I'll put the keyboard up on top. I do need help with this, again, because of the size and the weight of the keyboard. Now this is where I realized that I need to get my toolbox of accessories to make all the connections, but that is still on the bus, so here we go. However, on the way to the bus, I can't help but get a little distracted by this famous green room that's completely filled from floor to ceiling with signatures of the musicians who have performed here. It's an amazing sight to behold, and it's just one of the many aspects of this venue that exudes rock and roll history. And I have to take a quick peek at this door because this is where some of the more iconic artists have left their mark, like Brian Wilson of the Beach Boys, and one of my favorite bands, ZZ Top. And yes, ZZ Top will be a theme for me tonight, as you'll soon see. Oh, and here's the spot where I signed my name, along with some of the years that I've played here. Anyway, I got distracted, so it's back to my quest to get my toolbox, which is on the bus, and that's just parked outside the back door of the green room. So back to the setup. I set the guitar in the stand and then take out all the other pieces I need for this show, and I start connecting it all together. For my guitar sounds, I use a Headrush pedal board, and I set it on the floor under the keyboard, again to save space and also just to make it easy for me to change tones with the foot pedals. The cheat sheets for all the songs that I play and the set lists for our shows are all kept on this tablet, so that tablet goes on the tablet stand. The strap goes on the guitar, the keyboard sustain pedal, and my power strip all get set in their places. Now one thing that I do to make sure that my power strip and sustain pedal don't slip and move around during the performance is I use gaff tape to secure them both to the floor of the platform. Oh, there's the beard for my costume. Have you figured out what my costume is by now? I'm guessing you have. It's Billy Gibbons from ZZ Top. Anyhow, I still need to connect the power cables for the keyboard and the headrush unit. This little USB drive stores all of the programmed sounds that I use with this band, so I need to get that into the back of the keyboard. I'm also getting out my in-ear monitors, connecting the power to my tablet, and then 2 1/4-inch audio cables for my left and right stereo outputs of the keyboard. The other ends of these 1/4-inch cables will connect to stereo direct boxes, which is what then is sent to the sound system. My microphone stand also has a little guitar pick holder, so I'll load up a few guitar picks there so I can grab one when I need to. Oh look, there's Eric. He's the founder of this band, he's the lead guitar player, and for the show tonight, he'll be the one wearing the referee costume. So the last thing I do in my setup usually is wrap the cables to the keyboard stand with Velcro, just to declutter and generally clean up the appearance. Oh, hey Jake. So my setup is now pretty much done, and it's looking like the other areas are shaping up as well. Like the drums, the stage right riser that our trumpet player John uses. There's Lorenzo, one of the lead singers, and he's definitely fired up for the show. Now we put up boogie banners on the front of the 3 risers, and here's the house PA and a video production area where they produce the live video from the show and then project it onto the screens above the stage. Now moving down the room past the side booth seating area to the other end of the room, here's the technical control area. This is where the lighting and the sound is managed. Now, Eric is listening deeply to the sound of the sound system, and there's our sound guy, Jordan, who I guess has opted out of a costume this year. So since we have a little time before sound check, let's take a little bit more of a look at this amazing venue. Now, the most striking thing about this place is that it has been maintained and has retained its vintage style that harkens back to the 1950s. And most famously, it was the last venue that was played by Buddy Holly, Richie Valens, and the Big Bopper before a plane crash took their lives on that fateful night commonly called the day the music died after the winter dance party of February 2nd, 1959. And that whole story is told on the displays of these walls. But beyond that, even, there is such a rich musical history here that is all displayed through this amazing collection of memorabilia. You can tell a lot of effort has been put into preserving this vintage look, as you can see in the lobby and the wallpaper and just the decor overall. Okay, so I do feel the need to take this moment and get into the green room again and update the year on my signature on the green room wall. Got it. So sound check has begun. Today, sound check starts with Dave on the bass. My sound check is on my keyboard, my guitar, and my vocals. There's Kevin sound checking on drums, Eric on lead guitar, Lorenzo on male lead vocals, and Paige on female lead vocals. And finally, a little sound check with the whole band. The show is starting soon, so now we're all about our last minute prep before the show starts, finishing up the costumes, maybe having some food, and just generally getting in the mindset and the mood to hit the stage.
We post a picture that says, hey, figure we have to represent here because you'll never play.
And while we're busy with all this, the attendees are starting to arrive, so everybody's really getting ready to get this party started. the Yoyoz is an 8-piece cover band that plays a mix of crowd favorites in multiple genres, including rock, pop, country, and funk, just to name a few. Now, our approach to playing these cover songs is to do our best to sound like the original recordings that are most recognizable to our audience. And in order to pull this off effectively, especially with so much musical variety, each member of the band needs to be musically accomplished in their own right, but also versatile enough to be able to easily move from one genre to the next. So as the keyboard player in the band, it means that I will need to have instant access to a wide variety of sounds, ranging from acoustic piano to electric piano and organ sounds, to strings, to synthesizer sounds. Sometimes I need to access different sounds within a single song or multiple layers of sounds on different parts of the keyboard. So for me to have all that variety and flexibility of sounds at a professional level of sound quality inside of one keyboard that I can fit into the limited space of my stage riser, the choice of keyboard is pretty important. And I can accomplish all this on the Roland Fantom G8 workstation keyboard that I use. By today's standards, this keyboard might be a little dated, having first been produced in 2009, but even with the newer versions of this keyboard now available, and whatever improvements in technology have happened since then, I still find this keyboard to be a highly effective tool for the job. Our first set typically goes for 90 minutes, and then we take a short break, which we use to prepare for the second half. And tonight, the venue is using our break to run a costume contest. Our break lasts for about a half an hour, and then we're on for the rest of the show. They do cheer us back on for the big encore and the ending, and that gets me inspired to run out in front and play some guitar. And Billy Gibbons is a guitar player, not a keyboard player, so that fits my costume better anyway. Finally, the show is over. The lights come up, the crowd starts to exit the room, and we begin the process of tearing down the stage. There are always some fans who want to stick around and chat for a while, which is great. Our trumpet player, John, who was dressed as Waldo, even found some fellow Waldos to meet up with after the show. For my part, it's time to reverse my setup process and tear down my whole keyboard setup. There's a saying that says that we musicians don't really get paid to play, we get paid to move stuff. And that's pretty much true. It doesn't take us very long to transition from rock stars into roadies. The last of the crowd is out of the building. The security and the facilities crew are busy finishing up their responsibilities for tonight, and we are busy packing up our equipment into our riser boxes and getting everything back into the trailer. Getting back on the bus, yes, we're all tired, but we're also still pretty geared up from the whole night. So with the long trip home, it looks like we'll be starting up another movie, but before long, most of us will be going to get some sleep in the bunks. If you enjoyed this behind the scenes look at some of what I do as a keyboard player, especially in this iconic venue of the Surf Ballroom, please do me a favor and let me know by liking the video and subscribing to the channel. And I have to say, outside of my keyboard itself, one of the most important elements of my setup is my K&M keyboard stand. And if you want more information about that, then you should definitely check out my review of that stand right here.